This is the city of Cairo, which is located in a well-known city, Egypt. This video will be cover story of true Hijab girl. Her gaze, her way of thinking, her perspective, her decision, her future plan, her future husband, everything. In a small village of Cairo, in Egypt, there lived a young woman named Layla. Known for her beauty and grace, she wore the hijab with pride, a symbol of her deep religious devotion and modesty. Layla came from a humble but respected family, where faith and family values were held above all else. Her days were filled with devotion to her faith, helping her mother at home and walking the dusty streets of her village, where her presence was quietly admired by all who knew. Layla's beauty wasn't just in her outward appearance, but in her soul, a soul that radiated kindness, humility, and piety. She wasn't one to chase after material things, and she had always believed that true wealth came from living a life full of love, faith, and respect. Her family, though not wealthy in material terms, were rich in values. They had taught her that a life of service to others, to God, and to family was the truest path to happiness. In the same village lived a man named Fahim, a well-regarded merchant known for his integrity and strong principles. Fahim had worked hard to build a successful business, but what set him apart from others was his honesty and the respect he showed to everyone, regardless of their status. He had always believed that wealth, while important, was not the ultimate measure of success. What mattered most was living a life that aligned with one's values such as family, faith, and respect. Fahim had achieved much in life. He had yet to find the right woman to share his journey. He longed for a partner who shared his respect for tradition, one who upheld her faith and beliefs with grace. He had heard of Layla and admired her from afar, impressed not only by her outer beauty, but by her strong character. He knew she was the kind of woman he had been searching for, modest, religious, and with a heart full of devotion. After much consideration, Fahim approached Layla's family with a proposal for marriage. He expressed his deep respect for her and her family, emphasizing that his desire was to marry a woman who shared his faith and values. Layla's parents, knowing Fahim's reputation and character, agreed to the match, believing it would be a union built on mutual respect and shared beliefs. But Layla, though grateful for the proposal, was unsure. She had always envisioned her future as one of simplicity and faith, and she wanted to be certain that her future husband would honor and support her beliefs. Layla didn't want a marriage where her faith would be compromised or where her values would be overlooked. She needed to be sure that the love between them would be rooted in mutual respect and understanding, not just affection. As the days passed, Layla's thoughts remained clouded. She appreciated Fahim's sincerity and respected his proposal, but she couldn't shake the doubts in her heart. She had always been taught that marriage was not just a union of two people, but a spiritual journey, one that required more than just respect, but a deep understanding of each other's faith and values. Though Layla admired Fahim's integrity and success, she wondered whether their different worlds would come together as seamlessly as they seemed. Fahim was a man of the city, a successful merchant who was constantly busy with his work and the demands of his business. Layla, on the other hand, had grown up in the quiet simplicity of village life, where faith was the guiding principle in all matters. She wondered if Fahim would truly understand her desire to maintain a life of devotion, or if his worldly aspirations would draw her away from the path she had always cherished. One day, Layla's thoughts were interrupted when Fahim visited her family. They sat together in the courtyard, surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of the village. Children playing in the distance, the scent of jasmine filling the air, and the soft murmur of the river flowing nearby. Fahim spoke of their future, together, of the life they would build, of how he would support her every step of the way. His words were kind, filled with genuine care, but Layla's heart felt heavy. She listened to him, but her mind drifted to the world outside the village, the world of the city, of modernity, and the changes that came with it. Fahim's words seemed to promise a life of comfort, security, and respect, but Layla feared that the life he envisioned for them might leave behind the very things that mattered most to her. She didn't want to lose herself in the rush of a world that often overshadowed the importance of faith, family, and simplicity. That evening, Layla decided to visit the market in the nearby city. The bustling streets were a sharp contrast to the quiet village where she had grown up. The city was alive with the noise of merchants haggling, the scent of spices filling the air, and the constant movement of people, each lost in their own world. It was a far cry from the peaceful rhythms of village life, and as Layla wandered through the crowded streets, she felt a sense of disconnection. She paused at a fabric stall, admiring the colorful cloths draped in the sun. They were beautiful, vibrant, and tempting. For a moment, Layla felt an urge to purchase something that would connect her to this new, exciting world. But as she reached out to touch a shimmering piece of silk, a wave of realization washed over her. This was not the life she wanted. The world outside was loud, fast, and filled with distractions. It was easy to be swept up in the chaos, but Layla knew that she would lose herself in it.in that moment. She understood. Her true path was the one that honored her faith, her family, and the simple beauty of life. She didn't need the distractions of the city or the comforts Fahim promised her. What she needed was a partner who understood this, a partner who could walk beside her in devotion, respect, and love, without compromising the life she had always known. As the sun began to set, Layla made her way home, her heart clearer than it had been in weeks. She knew that she had to speak to Fahim, to tell him what had been weighing on her heart. She didn't want to hurt him, but she couldn't ignore the truth she had discovered. Her faith, her beliefs, and her values were more important than anything else. She would marry not out of obligation or convenience, but out of a deep, mutual understanding of what truly mattered in life. The next day, Layla called for a meeting with Fahim. Her heart was heavy with the weight of her decision, but her mind was clear. As she sat across from him in the family courtyard, the warm sunlight filtering through the branches of the old olive tree, she took a deep breath and began to speak from the heart. "Fahim," she started, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "You are a good man. Your honesty, your kindness, your respect for my family. It is more than I could have ever hoped for. But I have spent many days thinking about our future and the life you wish to build for us. And I realize now, it's not the life I seek." Fahim's expression faltered, and Layla could see the confusion and hurt in his eyes. He had expected her to say that she loved him, that she was ready to build a future together, but not this. Not these words. Layla continued, her gaze never wavering. "I have always believed that my path is one of faith, simplicity, and devotion. I come from a place where family and faith are everything. And while I respect you and the life you offer, I cannot walk away from the life I have known. I cannot lose the things that have made me who I am, the faith that grounds me, the simplicity that brings me peace, and the family who loves me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she held them back. "I do not want to live in a world where I lose sight of what truly matters. And as much as I respect your world, Fahim, I fear that it would pull me away from everything I hold dear." Fahim sat in silence, absorbing her words. He had never expected this. He had come to her with the hope of building a life, of sharing his world with her. But now, as he listened to her, he understood. Layla's devotion to her faith, her belief in the simplicity of life, was something that could never be compromised. It was a part of her, as natural as the air she breathed. "I see," Fahim said softly, his voice filled with quiet understanding. "I have always believed that marriage was about respect, respect for each other's beliefs and values. And I respect you, Layla, more than you will ever know. If this is your path, then I will not stand in the way. You must live the life that is true to you, and I can never ask you to give up what you hold dear." Layla looked at him with gratitude, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. This was the man she had admired, not just for his success or his kindness, but for his ability to understand her at a deeper level. He was giving her the freedom to follow her own path, without resentment or anger. As the days passed, Layla's heart was light. She knew she had made the right decision, one that honored both her faith and her heart. Fahim's respect for her had allowed her to walk away with dignity, and she felt a sense of peace she had never known before. Though their paths would not intertwine in marriage, Layla knew that both of them would continue to walk their respective paths, carrying the lessons learned in their time together. And as the seasons changed, Layla continued her quiet life in the village. She spent her days in devotion to her faith, caring for her family, and finding joy in the simplicity of her world. Fahim, too, carried on with his work, knowing that his search for a partner would not be defined by the things he could offer, but by the values they shared. One evening, as Layla stood by the river, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she thought of Fahim. She smiled softly, knowing that in her heart, she had chosen the path that was meant for her, a path of faith, simplicity, and love. And though their lives had gone in different directions, she would always remember the respect they shared and the lesson she had learned. True happiness comes not from what we have, but from who we are and the values we hold dear.